So if you had to describe last year, like what would 2024, how would you describe it in your world? I think this last year in 2023, you probably would have been $20 to $30 million if rates hadn't spiked the way that they did. How do you think that, what advantages do you have by doing that versus some of our peers who've come in like day one, they're like, hey, you're a loan officer. Where are you going in the next couple of years? Like, what's the vision? What's the goal? Got Grant Caredolf here, loan officer, cross-country mortgage, rock star, been in the business several years now. Just finished his second full year of production. Yeah. Broke some records. I mean, I don't know a lot of people who closed $15 million in their second year in mortgages, and rates were what, 7-8%?
They were high, yeah.
So if you had to describe last year, like what would 2024, how would you describe it in your world?
For last year?
Yeah.
Man, last year, honestly, it was the year of surprise. It was kind of like, you know, really 2022 was like desperation. Like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, what's going on? And then 2023 was like someone like turned the faucet on for me personally. It's like a bunch of the relationships I had made in 2022 were just out of nowhere. The phone calls, the late night meetings, the chasing down leads that don't qualify and doing all that hard work finally started like to show up for something.
Yeah.
So really it was like, I don't know, like, you know, there's a plan to go forward, but then you don't, it's faith, you know, is really what it's been, this journey of like, hey, from our first phone call of like, hey, Sean, I don't really know what I want to do with my life. And you're like, come be a loan officer. I'm like, I don't know how to spell mortgage. And then like just following what you said every step of the way and then seeing like, okay, wow, I'm making more money than I've ever have. And like what you told me is working.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of what I was going through all last year to me.
It's an interesting perspective because as you share that, like I see a visual of like you were given the playbook in the roadmap. You're really good at holding yourself accountable. I mean, you show up and you do the work.
Yeah.
We can all do better with even more accountability, but like you do a pretty good job at that. But it's almost like you had the playbook and then you were like, you walked into a storm, but you knew what the playbook was. So you just kept on like slowly walking forward through it. I think this last year in 2023, you probably would have been $20 to $30 million if rates hadn't spiked the way that they did.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was funny. So I called you in 2020, right after Thanksgiving, just for advice. I didn't really know what a mortgage was. Like I learned in high school a little bit, but they don't teach you anything about mortgages in high school. So
I said, don't be a realtor. You don't want people in your car and they don't make as much money as lenders.
So I didn't even think about it. I was thinking maybe, you know, I have a church background, but did get my business degree. So I was thinking maybe HR. I had actually interviewed a guy up in, you know, corporate offices in HR, but the HR offices really kind of disappeared and fell off after COVID.
Yeah,
during COVID during that time. So, I mean, you suggested it. And then to me, it was just like, okay, I don't know what this is, but I know I can trust Sean and I know he makes a lot of money and someone who I would want to, you know, like if my life ended up where I had the same career as Sean Kaplan, I just knew from, you know, knowing you for so long, there would be worse ways to go about my life. So I just kind of hopped in the boat and just trusted you. But it's so funny too, like 2021 when we did start, full year as your assistant, you told me on that phone call, I don't know if you remember, but I remember you said, hey, you're going to get beat up a lot. And I was like, whoa. After I accepted the job, you offered me the job. I said, sure, I'll take it. And then you said, you know, you're going to get beat up for 12 months, but after that, you're going to be making X amount of dollars in 2 years. And then in 3 years, you can be making this amount of dollars as well. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? I was like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. But then like 2021, you know, lowest interest rates in history. And then 2022 happens and I go full time in my own production. And I hadn't seen an interest rate above 4%. And so now I'm having to sell 6s, 7s, 8s. It was quite a drastic change from seeing you do, you know, 10 to 15 million to 20 million a month when I was your assistant to, okay, anybody want a loan, please?
You,
everyone.
And you got the reps in. You know, right. A lot of people won't go and work somewhere where like they can emulate and mentor and learn because they want to go directly to being a top producer, right? Like, and I'm super honored that you said that, by the way. But like, so how do you think that, what advantages do you have by doing that versus some of our peers who've come in like day one, they're like, hey, you're a loan officer.
I think this is a really big subject and something I've had to continuously learn because when I came to you, I had already spent 6 years and gotten 2 college degrees. So, you know, I've always been taught you got to pay your dues. You got to pay your dues. In high school, I had to pay my dues when I did, you know, different extracurricular activities, whether it's sports or acting or music. I always start at the lowest point of the totem pole and then, you know, go to college and you're paying your dues for 4 years. And then I go to another college and I'm paying my dues for another 2 years, being taught by some people who are younger than me, less educated than me, and really having to submit. You know, I get to my point in my life where I'm like, okay, I got 2 college degrees, expecting, you know, 50 to 100K out of college. And I'm like, hit the real world. I'm like, okay, This is not what's going on. I got to pay my dues again. I've just been doing that for 24 years and now I got to start over. But I think if you can get to the point in your life where just every day you're just submit yourself yourselves to the authority that you're under and trust that it's a good authority. Like I know same group of people, same background. I know you. I know people that like you, trust you, can vouch for you. And I knew that you weren't going to lead me astray and I could trust you. And there's security in submitting under that. So then, you see that year where I did get beat up, and then you see 2 years later, I'm tripling my business, year over year. And I think a lot of that goes back to, I had some to do with it. I made the calls, I made the meetings, I worked the hours, but also I think God honors what you sacrifice. And I sacrificed a lot to come work for you.
You did.
So.
Yeah, you did it with a lot of trust. But you didn't come in either one-footed. You came in flat-footed, ready to go to work. I wanted to. I knew you trusted me, so I wanted to give everything to you. I also know your father, and he's got a lot of guns, so I was like, I need to really, really do a good job with this guy. But no, I do. I respect your family, and you remind me a lot of myself. So a really fulfilling thing for me is that I'm able to say, hey, do this. I wish I would have done this.
Yeah.
Do more of this. Or, hey, sometimes I get on you, and I'm like, hey, stop doing that, right?
Yeah.
But it's all those things that I wish, man, I wish I would have had somebody, because I didn't have a mentor, really a coach in the business till, probably 2009, 2010. So I'd been in for almost 10 years. So that's why you're on the fast track. And, I wanted to have this talk because you're 27 now?
Yeah.
So just turned 27, and you got 2 properties.
Yes.
You make 6 figures a year. You've got some great referral partners. You got a builder account.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all in your going into your 3rd year of doing mortgages.
Yeah.
Right. Where are you going in the next couple of years? What's the vision? What's the goal?
I think the vision and the goal is to just do better than I did last year, honestly, is what I want to do. But I just want to continue growing. I mean, we set goals every often. I mean, I can go into the specific goals. I don't really want to. I just want to know that, hey, each year I've added these amount of accounts and I'm growing. I mean, I think there are years where, you do hit tailspins and you do go back, you have pruning years, but for right now, I think I'm not at my capacity yet for that to happen. So, and then it's tough to, one thing I've learned from just being around you, and I used to always think I have to turn into an overnight success.
Yeah.
And some people might say oh, you tripled your business in 1 year, you're an overnight success. I'm like, okay, well, that's 4 years,
right,
plus the 2 years that I learned how to communicate in Bible college, plus the 4 years I learned how to, strategically analyze a business and, be a professional in that college, and then public speaking again in high school and all those things. It's a lot of a build up to get to that point. And you said too, you're you show up every day. Really, if you want to be successful, you got to have your 3 things that you got to do every day. But, one of those things is just freaking showing up and doing the work. So you don't have to do a home run every day.
Yeah, exactly. I think you say something profound. There's a lesson in there that we really need to make sure that people hear, loan officers out there, is you said, you have specific goals, and I know some of them. You said, I just want to mainly make sure that I'm one better.
Yeah.
I'm improving, I think loan officers out there need to hear that, because there is no overnight success. And the ones that I do know that were overnight success, they did unfortunately come crashing down. But if they just had that mentality that you have, where it's I just want to improve and grow, maybe in these couple of little areas each year, you will look up and you'll be like, man, I've had 15 years of continual growth. I had 17 years of growth. I never went backwards till my 17th year, and then my only other year that I went backwards was last year.
Right.
And I also, there's another lesson, if you picked up on what Grant just said, and that is pruning. So pruning is synonymous with seasons. And I think being very, very aware that sometimes we're going to be in a winning season. Sometimes we're in a season where we're winning, but it feels like we're losing. Oh, yeah. And then sometimes you just got yourself into something, or you didn't make good choices or not the right business decisions, and you do have a losing season, right? And as an organization, you got to figure out, hey, do I need a new coach? Do I need a new team? Do I need a new, somebody assisting me? And that's where I think you're going now in your business. But so many people want to be there in that first year,
Yeah. And I think too, what you said is when you are winning, but you feel like you're losing, that's me constantly. I always feel like I'm losing. And especially in sales and in this industry in particular, we live in a rapidly changing marketplace, especially within the mortgage industry. The guidelines from when I started 3 years ago, 4 years ago, are not the same now still. And, there's going to be loans where, you miss a guideline or you mess something up that you could have, caught, but not letting it crush you. I think too many guys get really, really they let it get to them. And I've had loans where I'm like, man, that's going to get to me so bad. But I think too, on the other side, which I don't know if you want to go there, but like being a believer as well is just knowing to like, okay, I lost that loan, but one thing you told me when you hire me, you said you told me when you hire me, you said you're going to cost me a lot of money. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't want to cost you any money. I was scared, but you said you're going to cost me a lot of money, but you said that's okay. Just don't do the same mistake twice.
Right.
And I can literally sit here and say like, I have not made the same mistake twice. Like as a producing loan officer, like that adds to that, +1, but also too, like don't beat yourself up if you do make a mistake or if you feel like you're losing. Like find someone that's in your support, in your coach that can talk you through. And one of my favorite moments with you usually is when I come to you and I've made a mistake that I have never seen anyone else make. And I come to you and I say, dude, I just did this. And you're like, oh yeah, I've done that one before.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, oh, thank God I'm not alone. I'm not stupid. I'm not an idiot.
You only have a deal fall apart, the day before closing, once, maybe twice in your career. You learn from that.
Yeah.
And I still remember mine, and I wish I could find a guy and apologize to him. But I remember him saying, he's like, I got everything in a moving truck. My kid's crib is packed up. Where are they going to sleep tonight? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never, ever, ever not going to vet this application and send out a pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
Without feeling confident. So now when realtors and people are like, just give me a letter, the guy down the road will give me a letter. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it, number one, to the client and all the parties involved. And number two, I'm not going to do it to myself ever again. Yeah. You kind of learn those lessons, right?
Good stuff. Yeah.
How you talked about coaching. I think it's kind of an overused term. A lot of people use coaching. I wish there was another new word for it. But like, what role has that played in your fast track? Like, has it been a massive part of your growth? Like how? Like what has coaching done for you?
So I figured you were going to ask me this question this morning when I was thinking about this. But I don't know. Just me, I always love stories. So I always like to bring it back to like, okay, like how can I apply something that I learned, a lesson that I learned a long time ago to now? Like I learned in high school that I'm really good at math. Yeah. I always thought I wasn't good, but I'm really good at math. And the reason why I'm good at math is I'm good at following directions and instructions. There is a clear yes or no answer on math. It's not ambiguous like if you're reading or writing and stuff like that. So to me, coaching is almost in a sense, it's the same directions as math. Like, okay, I'm giving you these specific instructions. You can see like, I get this answer, X equals whatever. Like you have the answer, you've proven that if I do what you say, I can have a really, really strong business. And I was thinking about it too. It's like, hey, my numbers might not be the top 1% loan officer like in the country, but you are a top 1% loan officer in the country. So maybe even though my numbers don't show it yet, I'm running my business as though I am one. The numbers will come later. Yeah. I just need a little bit of time. But like that's what coaching does for me is like, okay, I'm learning from the best of the best. Like why would I not want to do anything else? And like the times when I get frustrated with you, I'm like, why won't Sean leave me that alone? Yeah. Like it's like, okay, it's all going somewhere, Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's also a safe space to come and after you do get beat up in the marketplace to come and be like, okay, hey, where are we strategically going? What can we do better? Where can I push you? And then just learning from your lessons too of stuff that you've learned and what you're getting from your coaches as well. So yeah, no, I love it. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have, that coming in. I get other calls from companies and they have the worst sales pitches to try to get me to come over. I literally say, hey, I tripled my business already under Sean Kaplan. I'm not going anywhere else. Like you can't, like, even if you paid me more, I'm not going to go somewhere else. Cause you can only, that's like, you're going to put a ceiling on what I can do because you guys aren't going to offer me the coaching I need. Right. I can make more money, by learning how to do more loans, And yeah, there's there's a couple of broke thought processes in our industry, and one of them is like, well, I could go over here and this will fix it, or that's a big paycheck that'll help me make more money. And in some cases, I'm sure that's true, but what people don't look at is like, well, am I going over here? Does this platform allow me to trampoline and grow the way that I need? And you should take a lot more credit because you're a great student, you're super coachable. You're a great implementer. Your results are going to be exponential. I mean, if you did this in a probably the toughest market I've seen in 23 years of doing loans, you tripled your business. I can't imagine where you're going to be in another year, 2, 3 years from now. And so I want to see you do 100 million. I want to see you, have a branch like this and manage it, take over it, so I can go do something else. But I know that the path that you're on, just keep doing what you're doing, Grant, because you're doing it the right way. And I think a lot of people are watching you. And that next part now is,
And it does go back to faith, man.
Yeah.
That's a special connection that you and me have. You know, Hebrews 11:1, you know, it's all happening for a reason, whether we see it or we don't see it, right? And my buddy Nick, who's helping us, you know, behind the soundboard, you know, he always tells me, he goes, this is happening for you. It's not happening to you. So even when I lose a deal, or I make somebody upset, whether it's a realtor, I'm like, this is happening for me, not to me. Like, what's going on? What's the lesson here? And I'm just really, really super excited to see where you go, you know, over these next couple of years. It's going to be awesome. So what would you tell a loan officer that just got into business or is thinking about getting into business right now? You know, they see you and they're like, man, I want to do what Grant's doing. And don't tell them not to do it. So that's probably the first thing we'll tell them. Don't do it. You're crazy. You got to be crazy. But what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
I would say, you know, oh, man, there's so much, but I would say definitely whoever's business you see that you respect, get around them and emulate. You know, I think this does attract a lot of entrepreneur types and people that like to work solo. But man, to me, I just think there's something so big that our culture misses in authority and being under authority and submitting to that God honors, that people just miss out on. So that's 100%. It doesn't matter what company you're going to. It matters who you're surrounding yourself with. So,
that's good. That's really, really good. So I would definitely agree with you. That'd be number one. Get with somebody that you can emulate and watch. And right behind that, I would probably say, like, because you hit on it in the beginning, you sacrifice so much. Yeah. Be prepared. Like, you probably need to commit the next 24 months if you're going to be a loan officer to not financially making a lot of money, having a lot of frustration and heartache, being pushed to your limits and really learning and growing, you know. But if you do that like you did, I mean, you just start launching. So proud of you, buddy. Thanks, I'm really, really proud of you. Yeah. So, all right. This is Grant Caradoff, Superstar LO. You know, reach out to Grant. I'll put his contact info, his socials below, and appreciate you being here.
Thanks, man.
All right.